Everyone, welcome to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, your host, and we're going to talk about a brand new streaming service that is both unique and exciting. It's called Pure Magic Pictures. It's truly an independent operation with no big-time studios. The content you see is fresh, it's creative, and it, frankly, is entertaining because it's not got that big studio look to it. It's got the organic type of independent film work that you don't often see these days, frankly. And it's really the brainchild of two very talented people, the founders, Kalani and Stefanie Hubbard. Now, everything you see on Pure Magic is original. As I said before, it's done on small budgets, but these people are creative, they're passionate, and it shows in the content that they produce. So, without any further ado, Kalani and Stefanie, welcome. Let's talk about Pure Magic Pictures.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's definitely one of the points that makes us unique and makes us different is we don't have Sony or Disney or Netflix or anybody behind us. It's just, mom and pop movie shop, like as authentic as it gets, just Kalani and I, making the movies that we love. And of course our team, we couldn't do it without the team behind us of like passionate creatives that come together to help make our visions come to life. But we're very blessed.
Well, you sound like Super Bowl winners there.
I feel like a Super Bowl winner.
It's like, we're happy to accept the trophy, but, we can't do without the team.
Yeah.
Which is true, which is very true. And, one of the things that excites me about your project is that not only are you talented, the two of you, but you've co-opted in a group of people who are also talented. Tell me a little bit about what you learned, after launch.
Yeah, it's just so important the people that you get together. It's the people that you work together day in and day out to create something really really great. But you have to get people who are talented, but also all really have the same similar vision. And some people are just really, really great to work with, and you want to just continue to work with them. And so you just continue to build that great team of people. And we've just really learned a lot about, we're kind of creating this really cool community of people who create stuff together. And now it's like, oh, okay, we got this shoot on the calendar. Well, let's get the A team together, and you just grab all of your favorite people. And it's just really cool, and we all really enjoy working together, and everybody's so talented. And it's just been really, really great. We're planning a shoot for next month, and it was just a really fun thing when we were doing some pre-production, and it was like, oh, so who do you want to film this? Oh, this person. Oh, okay, audio. Okay, this person. Okay, let's do the gaffer. This person. You know what I mean? And we just we know them all by heart, and we've worked with them so much, and it's just been really, really cool. And actors too. There's these such amazing actors that we've worked with that have range and just so many talents, and it's really cool to use a lot of the same actors again, and kind of build this cool community of actors that are just in the things that we make. And it's just kind of like this really fun, unique thing that we got going, and I really enjoy it.
I gotta tell you guys, one of the things that you're going to find interesting, I hope, anyway. Otherwise, this story is totally worthless. Anyway, I find when I talk to producers, right, and we're talking about producers who have track records. I mean, really legit track records. When they get a show that they've worked so hard to get on, a network, right? They're so excited about it. And I think now, to hear what you guys are talking about, right? Being able to, in essence, not only be the producers, but actually to be the showrunners on your own programming. And I know that's a little inside baseball for some people, but when you're developing a program, there, as you guys know, um, a movie's one thing, but a series or something like that, right? That requires, yes, you've got producers, yes, you've got directors lined up, but everything really kind of coalesces around the showrunner. The person who's there day in and day out, making sure that, the vision is right there. And I think that what you've done is taken some of the layers out of that, right? You
Mhm.
don't have to have 7 producers and 3 different directors to be involved. You just need to have a a cohesive team that is as passionate as you are about putting out good product.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really well said.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, it's definitely, it's a small team here, and it's really cool. We all wear multiple hats, but there is that what you said. You kind of cut out all of these different layers, and it's just really simplified. And there's something kind of beautiful
Mhm.
about
Streamlined.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that's really where you can really get to the creative art aspect of it, right? Because Um, it's not like you have to pick up the phone and call the network or call call the, studio and say, "Hey, look, we decided to make a quick change here. Would
Right.
you, what do you think?" Basically that just means, you're tapping somebody on the shoulder and say, "You know what? We haven't how about we shoot this scene this way, or we take this plot in a little different direction." Basically you're sitting down at the lunch table and figuring it out, as opposed to waiting for somebody from the studio to get back to you.
Right.
That's exactly right. We definitely don't struggle with the too many cooks in the kitchen phenomenon, and we
Mhm.
really do make these decisions over lunch together.
Which is not, which is also gives you a great excuse to have lunch.
There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when you take up, a concept, right, an idea, and you take it from, your head and from writing it down and putting it in a script, and you go and you start shooting, right? There's a time where you go, I wasn't really thinking about this, but now this makes sense. Maybe if we went this way, and take a different direction on it, it would even be better. And
Mhm.
so the ability to think on the fly like that and create on the fly and change on the fly is another thing that you don't have the option necessarily always when it comes to, a more structured way of doing things.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I would say Plunder Quest was Kalani's artwork. Like he wrote
Mhm,
it, he casted it, he directed it, he was heavily involved in the editing and the composing, the composition on that movie is just phenomenal. And he was
mhm,
very heavily involved with our composer Massimo through that whole
mhm,
process. And it was amazing just getting to see him work and just seeing him on
mhm,
set and seeing like any last minute changes that needed to happen. And I'm just so thankful that he got to have that
mhm.
ultimate freedom to just
Right.
do what needed to be done to make the movie the best it could be made and not worry about
Mhm.
upsetting investors or having the
Right.
studio executive like, what did you do? It's just like he just
Right.
he got to play in his director playground and have a great time, and it really
Mhm,
resulted in a fantastic film. I mean, we recently had some critic reviews come in for Plunder Quest that were just
mhm,
glowing. We got like 9.5 out of 10 stars on Plunder Quest, and I'm so happy
mhm,
to see that the critics see what I see, which is like really one of the best movies that I've ever seen.
mhm. Well, look, it's always good to have critics. Okay. Um, Sometimes it's good not to have critics, but never.
Right?
Well, sometimes we're our worst critics, right? There
Mhm.
are there are people in the industry who will love it, and you'll go back and go, wait a minute, what is this? I mean, what is it there that they saw that, you know, I know myself personally from work that I've done in the past. I've actually won an Emmy, Emmys for things that I didn't think was as good as the things I lost Emmys for.
That's
Yeah, I believe
that
it.
makes
Yeah, makes
that's
sense.
wild.
And you sit there and you go, are you in one regard you've got to be happy, right? Because you're saying you've just received an award. On the other hand, you're sitting there going, you're kidding me. I spent 7 hours, languishing over this other thing, which was much better. And this is what I'm being rewarded for this.
Mhm.
Now
That's too
that,
funny.
I know that's sick is what that is. That is absolutely sick. You take it and you just, you're blessed to get it. But that's the creative process, right? In the creative process, there are things that you think are good and the critics are not necessarily on board. Then there are things that you aren't as crazy about, but it's part of the creative process. You do it, and the critics are all over it, and you're
Mhm.
like, what are they seeing that I didn't see?
Right.
So that's why critics. I'm happy when people say good things about what we do as a creative process. All of us are. But I'm also skeptical at times when critics are, a little less than happy with what we do because they weren't there.
Right. Or maybe it's as simple as maybe it's just not meant for them. If I
Right.
was a critic, you could give me any horror film that's ever existed, and I would not give it a good score because I just don't like horror films. It's just
Yeah.
not for me. And maybe just the
Right.
wrong person saw it, and it's just not for them. It just doesn't resonate with them no matter what.
Maybe they got up. It was a bad day.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah. Maybe
they,
they're grumpy that
yeah,
day.
right. They were stuck in traffic. It's like, oh man, I got to see this movie. You know, got a
Yeah.
bad batch of popcorn. You never know.
Yeah.
You do make a really good point. We should not, hang on every word a critic says if they have negativity. We got to stay true to what we make and what we like, and know that people out there like it too.
Yeah, and it's I learned that from Stuart Lane and Bonnie Conley, who are Broadway producers. And Broadway producers, unfortunately, Broadway, because it's such a limited, situation. I mean, we talk about movies, right? Uh, more people on a Saturday or a Sunday weekend, right? Will see a movie that then will see a Broadway show, even if the Broadway show runs for a year.
Right.
And so, um, when you get a bad review uh, in on a Broadway show, that can mean the death knell, right?
Right.
Um, and so Bonnie and Stu have always been on of a theory that, okay, if we get a bad review but we still like what we're doing, we run it out for the rest of the run, whatever that may be. Maybe it's 4 months, 5 months, whatever. But then they take it on tour and they make it, they move it around the country, and they find out that, at the end of the day, their investors are going to get their money back because they believed in it and they moved it around the country and got it out of Broadway.
Right.
And sometimes that's what we find out in the creative process of producing movies, television shows, etc., is that, we might not get that, glowing review, but guess what? The audience liked it.
So true.
And so if you look at how many shows and how many, over the years, right, have been saved because the audience loved it.
Yeah, I feel like you see that on Rotten Tomatoes all the time.
Mhm,
The audience score can be really, really high where the critic score isn't as high. And I usually
mhm,
pay very close attention to the audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes.
mhm. And you've got now Netflix is pushing out a movie a week, which is pretty amazing.
That's
Um,
that's wild.
Yeah, wild.
well, think about that. I mean, you're talking about in the neighborhood. of $2.5 billion that Netflix is committed to pushing a movie out a week. Okay. You got Amazon flying right behind that at 1.7 billion. And that's not even counting what Disney and and the others are lurking in the background, because they know that if I'm going to buy, or you're going to buy, or any of us are going to subscribe to a streaming service, we want something for our money. And that doesn't mean reruns of old shows.
Right. As much as we love The Office, you got to make something new.
Oh, yeah, those are certain things you just,
yeah, exactly.
goes without saying, right?
Yeah. No, that's so real. I mean, that's why, we're not even trying to play that game. And we really want to position ourselves in a place where we're just our own thing. It's like yes, our content has to be on an app, which is streaming. So I guess you could call it a streaming service, right? But what we're doing is really, we're building a community of people who just, want to watch the content that we put out, and who want to just enjoy the entertainment that we make. And we're very interactive with our audience, and from like talking to them on Instagram to actually having them be a part of the shows in some ways. And it's just this really cool thing that we're building, and it's completely different from Netflix. And because there's no way we'd ever be able to play that game, nor would we want to. It's more of like a curation of a small amount of things that come out every month, that you'll probably watch every single thing, and every single thing goes together. And so it's like, if you like one thing, you're gonna like everything, because it's all coming from just us. And so it's definitely a completely different situation than Netflix or Hulu. But yeah, it's crazy to think that they're just pumping stuff out like that. I'm glad we're not playing that game, because once you start to play that game, nobody wins.
Well, it's the old joke about when two elephants fight, the only thing gets hurt is the grass.
Yeah, exactly.
But from a creative standpoint, right? What I think the takeaway is here is, let's not focus on what Netflix and the other guys are doing, but let's focus on the fact that that means that people are consuming content. And when I speak to people and I tell them that I could sit back and probably watch YouTube for 5 or 6 days and not watch any scripted content, they look at me like I'm from another planet. But I think that if you're looking for entertainment, you want something that hasn't been done before.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be as polished or as cinematically dramatic as some of these major studios put out. What you're looking for is good, just entertaining content. And I think that's where you guys have fill in the niche, right? There's a lot of really creative filmmakers and a lot of creative people out there who want to just produce good content. And if there's a place to go to find it, that in and to itself puts you in the in the same store, if you will, as a Netflix, but giving people a different taste.
Yeah.
You're like a bodega on the corner, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
It's I can go to any major store and get anything I want, but nothing tastes as good as what I get from the local bodega on the corner.
Exactly, because they have their secret recipe with their secret ingredients, and so do we.
Yeah. No, that's a really good way to put it, actually. That makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
And that little bodega that you guys have, right? Is only going to get better because you're going to get spicier stuff to come in. And that's the good thing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I feel good at shopping at the bodega right by my house because I know the guy who owns it, and we always shoot
Right,
the breeze together, and I'm
right.
supporting him and his little store,
Mhm,
and, I feel better about shopping there than I do walking down to the giant chain grocery store, you know?
mhm. Well, and you always, they're always going to give you, hey, look, we just got this in. Why don't you try this? And they give you, you get a little taste of cheese and you get a little bread and you get, by the time you're out of there, you're full. It's
Yeah.
Mhm.
because they want you to appreciate that when they got something in, they want you to know, hey, look, this is new. This is something you really haven't had before.
Exactly, and that's something that we're trying to emphasize with our mom and pop movie shop is
Mhm,
really going quality over quantity. When you
mhm,
talk about Netflix and Amazon putting out a movie a week, how many of those movies, would I personally like? I mean, there's a lot of movies on Netflix that I can feel like, without being critical, like I said, it really depends on the person, but I've seen even on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, like other scores where people are agreeing with me that some of these movies feel very manufacturing made, like made in
right. It's a
where
factory.
for us it's artisanal. Not only are you shopping at the
Mhm,
bodega, but you're buying the handmade bread,
right,
the
right.
artisanal bread, not the factory made bread as well.
Mhm.
Just the entertainment version of that.
Well, yeah, and at the same time, I think that one of the things that I think people get hung up on is that, um, you can watch, um, or I shouldn't I'm not gonna use the euphemistic I'll say I can watch. Um, I can watch something, it doesn't have to be perfectly produced as long as the content and the storyline is good, you know?
Mhm.
If you tell me a story and you tell it well, cinematically, whether it's, a TV show or a movie, I can forgive, little blits and blops and things that, you know, uh, that you that you can't get right all the time, right? Um, that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is if it's not written well and if it's not a good story, then you can be as cinematically brilliant as you want, but it's not gonna make any difference. You can't
Mhm.
gloss over a bad script.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, story is king, it's the most important part, is you just got to start with the script, start with the story and build
Mhm,
everything around that and just make sure that that's the most solid thing that there is in the whole film. So, I totally agree. I can forgive little things here and there if the story is great. Um, but I've definitely had my fair share of watching a movie and it's beautiful in every way. It's immaculate.
mhm,
Visual effects are crazy and then like
mhm.
the script is just hollow or or
It's
the
like
writing is bad and you're like, "Oh, come
it's
on." So,
like, okay, they won best costume, they won all this
yeah,
other
exactly.
but, forget about it.
Exactly.
Have you guys ever seen the movie Memento?
Yeah, I've seen Memento.
Okay. Well, the brilliance of Memento, okay, is it was shot it was shot in 3 weeks.
I did not know that. Wow, that's really
Yeah.
impressive.
It was shot in 3 weeks. It was shot in 4 different locations, okay, and literally shot on a budget that was just ridiculously cheap, okay?
Mhm.
By Hollywood standards, I should say,
Right.
not by your standards or my standards, but
Right.
ridiculously cheap. Okay, and everything is relative when it comes to that point. But all that being said, that just goes to show you that there's so many wonderful independents out there that are done by good people with good concepts and good ideas. I mean, what Memento was, for all intents and purposes, was really shot in a bunch of motel rooms.
Right.
Okay. The
Yeah.
theory, I mean, at the end of the day, it was, it was the fact that this guy had, written all of these little notes to himself on his body throughout the course of, what was in essence the back of the 24 hours, right? That
Mhm.
it was two people and that was the story. It didn't matter where they were. They didn't have to be in the in the Four Seasons to get this done. I mean, it was literally done in a very gritty kind of a way, but that's okay because the story meant it to be gritty. It was built that way. And so I think that's the beauty of independent content, is that it's not necessarily the pretty. It's not necessarily, you can be beautiful without, having to CGI everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lovely walk down, you guys are in Brooklyn, right?
We
Mhm.
are. Mm-hmm.
Okay. A lovely walk down, the promenade there on where the best view of New York is from Brooklyn. Um, there are lovely areas around the city that you don't have to worry about doing anything, but
Yeah.
just getting good lighting on that day.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of what we're doing too is, Brooklyn is our backyard. And so you'll see in all of our, films and shows, it's just it's always the backdrop. It's
Right.
where we start from. And it's kind of a cool thing, it's we have we have a lot of places that we go back to, and
Mhm.
it's just really beautiful to show the city and show these cool places in New York that we love.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, whatever the story calls for, but
Right.
a lot of the time the backdrop is Brooklyn, streets of Brooklyn and parks and all that kind of stuff, and it's a cool thing. I really enjoy it. It's a beautiful thing to look at. It's a good setting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna find a place, it's not a bad place to film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's there could be worse.
Yeah,
Like a friend
exactly.
of mine has a studio in Santa Monica. I said, yeah, great. Every morning you get up at 70 degrees and you've got the ocean behind you. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
tell me that as long as you're not shooting the 43rd incarnation of Baywatch, I'm interested in finding out. Which, just out of curiosity, Baywatch was shot in Santa Monica, but
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's funny.
it's hey, you can't blame Santa Monica. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's just there. Well, guys, what are we going to look forward in the future to? What's you've got your I say the future. You've been up and running now for a little over almost 2 months now.
Yeah. Still
Mm-hmm.
pretty fresh.
Mm-hmm.
The future's now at this point, I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly. Yeah, well, so Plunder Quest just released, which we're
Mhm.
really excited about, and coming up, we're releasing here just in a few weeks Stephanie's feature. It's called Lily Darling. It's a romance set in Brooklyn in 2006. It's punk rock. It's really fun.
Okay.
So that'll be coming out in the next few weeks, and we're also working on like a Tonight Show style show. It's kind of like a sketch comedy
Okay.
series that we're producing called Good Night Tonight.
Okay.
So that'll be coming out fairly soon, and
Will that be a daily, or is that just a
it's a weekly release.
okay?
Yeah, so every Friday it'll be coming out once we release. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, we're really setting our sights on both of those at the moment, and we're
Mhm.
just really excited about those. So
And this, we're at the shameless plug portion of the program. If people, first of all, make sure that they know where to find the network and the streaming service so they can download it and buy it.
yeah, yeah. So it's Pure Magic Pictures. So you can search any app store. We're on all the app stores, or you can just go to puremagicpictures.com
Mhm.
and sign up there. And there's a free trial. So we just want people to watch stuff. So it's like if you want to try the free trial, see if you like what we make. If you
Mhm.
do, consider sticking around and supporting. And if not, hope you enjoyed the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But we just really want people to. You can watch what we have currently, for free
Mhm.
for the trial, and we hope that people give that a shot at least and see if they like what they
Right.
see. I think they
Yeah.
might.
See
It's
what we're
a
up.
it's you're coming to your bodega and you're giving people a chance to take a free test.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
Check out
yeah,
the menu. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
And if you're curious to see, the making of process and things of that nature, we are pretty active on our Instagram at Pure Magic Pictures as well.
Okay, now if there are people out there who have content that they've already produced or are going to produce, and they are looking for an outlet, and they don't want to wait for 7 years to get through the labyrinth, which is um, Amazon or some of these other streaming services, and they're independent filmmakers. Are you guys open to listening to them? And if so, are they best to get you hit you up on social at Instagram, maybe a DM you or something like that?
Definitely. Yeah, we'd love to hear from other independent creatives, artists. That's who we are, and we'd love to connect with them as well. So they can DM us on our Pure Magic Pictures Instagram, and we'll definitely see it and get back to them.
Special thanks to our guests, Kalani and Stefanie Hubbard, the founders and creative forces behind Pure Magic Pictures. All the information on Pure Magic is in our show box below. Be sure to check it out. We'll be back with more of Stream On right after this from our friends at BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
At BMW, we know leaving the road wasn't easy, but anticipating our return taught us to appreciate every drive. The exhilaration of the ultimate adventure. Moments spent with your favorite co-pilots. And the freedom to explore just because. Our time to rejoin the road is finally here.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, if you're not one of the over 75,000 people worldwide who've taken the time to, join our little party and subscribe to our podcast, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, we make it simple. You can find us at the Apple Podcast Store. Same thing with Google Play. Also, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, as well as iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and just about any other podcast service out there. So, you can find us in all the places you normally get your podcast. Now, if for some reason you can't find us, not a problem. If you have one of those wonderful assistant devices like Alexa or Google or Siri, all you have to do is ask them to play the latest edition of Stream On with Jim Williams, and they'll be happy to do it for you. Finally, if that doesn't work, then just pull out the old Google machine, type in Stream On with Jim Williams, hit the favorite button, and subscribe. And every week you're going to get a brand new edition of the podcast sent directly to your phone, your tablet, or to both. Okay? Making it simple. Okay, special thanks, as we said, to Kalani and Stefanie Hubbard for being with us and talking to us about Pure Magic Pictures. Next week, next edition, is going to be BritBox, and we got a lot of fun stuff that we're going to be talking about with BritBox. So hang with us, and we'll see you next time right here on Stream On.